here today. So we're here occupying City Hall. This started around 8:30 this morning, and the reason we're here is because we felt like we needed to take further action in light of Lovely Warren continuing to ignore the demands of the family and organizers in the community, and instead putting Mark Simmons as the interim chief, a man who shot a 13-year-old child whose mother called for help 3 times, shot her 3 times, and that's who's supposed to be our next interim chief. In light of what's been going on in our community, people are coming out day in, day out, screaming Black Lives Matter. A man was murdered. Daniel Prude was murdered, and the city's response is to put a man who tried to kill a 13-year-old in charge and to put out a list of 8 demands of 8 suggestions that the mayor plans on going along with. That just does not go far enough. We've made our demands clear from the start. We want justice for Daniel Prude. What that looks like, number one, is Mayor Lovely stepping down and resigning. She is not fit to be in this position. She covered up a murder, and she has lied and lied and lied for weeks. We are continuing to demand that Daniel's Law is passed. Daniel's Law is to ensure that first responders to mental health calls are not police officers with guns and mace and weapons, but instead mental health counselors, community health workers, people who are helpers in our community. So in response to that demand, we know that City Council is voting on legislation tonight to give $300,000 to a mobile crisis response team. We find that laughable and in fact disrespectful. To give the police substation around $16 million and turn around and give the people $300,000 for 24/7 response to a mental health crisis is continuing to set the community up to fail. That is absolutely ridiculous, and we are not okay with it. Furthermore, Troy Talladay, Mark Vaughn, and Francisco Santiago, the men who took the lead on murdering Daniel Prude, are still at large. Lovely has not held them accountable. They are not fired. They're on paid vacation, and we are still waiting for them to be fired, indicted, and prosecuted to the full extent of the law. We also want to ensure that Mike Mazzio steps down and Sandra Dorley, who we should be holding accountable for fueling mass incarceration in our community. She's still in office, and until that demand is met, we will still continue to organize and fight for justice. We've made our demands clear. Lovely Warren's speech she gave yesterday just does not go far enough, and it does not even begin to scratch the surface of what the family and what the community is asking for. So until our demands are met, City Council is our new home. So this is the People's Hall, and all are welcome to join us. And we are open to any questions. We have other organizers around, so we can take any questions.
Stanley, let me ask you. They halted the payments for the Goodman substation. How do you feel about that?
So right before the station was built, people who lived in the neighborhood came out and said, we do not want a police station in our neighborhood. This is dangerous. This is going to impact our community violently. It is so upsetting that it took a man dying for our voices to finally be heard. Why were we not listened to the first time? We know what we need as a community. We know how to make ourselves heal and strive and survive. But instead, we are not listened to until a man dies. So we need to remember that during the largest civil rights movement in our history, City Council initially voted to give $16 million to the police, men who occupy and brutalize our community, and they are turning around and giving us $300,000 for people who need mental health assistance. So let's always keep that in mind. When we're asking for help and support, what they give us are just crumbs, when in fact they're giving police officers, murderers, millions of dollars on the backs of Black and brown people.
I heard what you guys said yesterday about the firing of Pete Singletary. If you don't mind kind of reiterating some of the things, some of the feelings you guys have about his firing.
It's really shameful that Lovely Warren did not step in and fire him immediately. Let's say we just for a second step in and listen to her narrative that he improperly informed her about the murder, saying it was an overdose. That alone should be enough for firing and prosecution. But she still kept him till he finally said, you know what, I'm probably wrong, so I'm going to step down to not further tarnish my image. So she still didn't hold him accountable. He decided to step down. We're happy he stepped down. But we can't even enjoy that win because immediately after, we're having Mark Simmons, once again, a man who shot a 13-year-old child who was suicidal and needed help, is now being elected or now being positioned as our new interim chief. So we just feel like Lovely she just doesn't seem to be hearing our demands. She doesn't seem to be hearing the family's demands. We've made it extremely clear. These are the steps to attain justice for Daniel Prude and his family. We're still waiting. The officers are still around. Lovely is still here, refusing to hold anyone accountable. Firing Tim Curtin, Justin I can't even pronounce his last name. People she put in place. That's not enough. Why were they in place in the first place? Why were they there? I also want to challenge the narrative of Lovely being the person who championed the Police Accountability Board. Absolutely not. In fact, she put out legislation to combat a police accountability board with teeth and disciplinary power. At no point was she ever supportive of the police accountability board. That was all President Scott. So for her to take credit of something she tried to dismantle just falls in line with all her lies she's been telling recently.
One last question. Your voices have been heard. Are you still celebrating a little victory in what's happened so far?
I think Mr. Joe Prude can speak to what that feeling might be like right now. You know, seeing that Mark Simmons is about to be the police chief, knowing that the killers of his brother are still out there and being paid with taxpayer money. I think he can speak to what that feels like.
Joe, first, how you doing today?
All right, yourself.
I'm all right.
You good too, Joe?
The question is, do you feel a bit victorious that some people are leaving?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I feel as though that it goes back to the first press conference when I said it was a blatant cover-up. And it really was. You know what I mean? And for me to figure that out, everybody in this audience, everybody that's out here got common sense. Everybody knew that was an elaborate cover-up. You know what I mean? There's no more further things that they can possibly tell us. Now, all we want them to do is tell us one thing. They finna go apprehend them people that murdered my brother. That's all the hell I want to know. I'm so tired of you know, it ain't even the politicians, it's the people. Yeah, they politicians. You know, I'm gonna rephrase that. Yeah, they study beating around the bush. You ain't beat around the bush when you killed my damn brother. So why in the hell my family's still waiting for results? I think they owe that to us, don't they? If I'm not mistaken, don't they owe that to me? Because he died on my damn watch. And you know how that bad that makes me feel like the scum on the bottom of my goddamn shoe. I'm so tired of these people just, oh, let's put a blanket over that. No. Stop hiding. Bring them people in, because if it was me, if I'd have did that to a damn cop, I'd have been sitting at 130 South Plymouth. Indicted already. Indicted. I mean, let's keep it real. What more can we possibly say for them people to go on here and bring these people forth to the community can see that everything that we set out to do is being done? They still sugarcoating the damn game. That black and white, they still sugarcoating it. Everybody want to fall on this person or that person. Man, I'm holding all these bitches at fault.
Bitches is a gender neutral term in this situation.
The former mayor, Phil Johnson, says that the community's already protested. The point is made. It's time to sit down at the table and find some solutions.
Man, we ain't sit down till the people come up out of there.
So I have not seen Bill Johnson at any one of these protests.
Not one.
While Bill Johnson was mayor, the RPD also murdered people and got away with this. So until we have someone speaking who has not been involved in not holding police officers accountable for murder or covering up murders, let's check back. Bill Johnson also brought Project Exile into our communities, in which black people were charged excessively and faced federal charges and exiled from our community for having small amounts of drugs in their possession and something remotely resembling a firearm, like any part of a firearm. This man did this to this community, and we know people who are still paying the price. So nothing Bill Johnson can say means anything to me. What means something to me is the family's voices and the voices of the people who continue to show up and fight for justice day in and day out. So, and this is just why all these systems continue to fail. We have people in power who are not reaching out to the community. Joe, were you at the table when they decided to give $300,000 to mental health?
No.
Were you asked about it?